we're recording. Oh, thank you so much. So what am I calling you?
Oh, you call me hobo.
Hobo. Okay, just want to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that I understood that when you emailed it. Okay, cool. So how are you doing today?
That's a loaded question for a mystic.
I can't wait to hear. Can't wait to hear and talk to you. I have a bunch of crazy questions for you. I've been trying to explore the avenue of the spiritual realms of life a lot more as I'm becoming more and more interested in it personally.
Right?
So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I love the content that you're putting out there.
My pleasure.
Okay, Hobo. So let me give you a brief introduction here. So, hey everyone, I'm Monica Clavijo, and welcome to the Bear Experiment podcast. Today I'm sitting down with the Spiritual Hobo, who is a mystic, tarot reader, psychic, astrologer, and author of The Third Eye Lie. Now, he spends his life exploring the hidden truths of the universe, from ancient Egypt alchemy to the science of the mind and the spirit realm. Once on the path to becoming a Catholic priest, his journey took a radical turn, leading him to deep esoteric wisdom, intuition, and mastering the unseen world. Now, today we're diving into life's biggest question. Why are we here? What happens when we die? And how do we unlock the power within? So thank you all so much for all of your support. I really appreciate you guys watching and taking the time to just listen to these amazing guests that I have on the podcast. So please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to never miss an amazing episode or an amazing guest. Now let's dive in. So welcome, 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 Hobo.
Thank you so much. Why we what was the first question? Why do we die?
Yeah, why we're gonna get into that. We're
Oh
gonna get
no.
into that.
All right, go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So let me start off so that we introduce you and get kind of like a proper understanding of who the spiritual hobo is. So are you truly a nomad, or is this a symbolic?
No, I am truly a hobo and I'm very spiritual.
Mhm.
And that's what developed the username. When I began to work online as a tarot card reader, I needed a username. I didn't even know what one was, but once I realized what it was, I was required. Determined to sat back in my chair and determined to name myself or rename myself. And due to the way I am, I wanted it to be meaningful and truthful. So I am a true hobo. I hitchhiked around the United States 9 times. I've been living on the road over 40 years.
That's
This
incredible.
is even rock and roll bands don't do that. Um, I've had 6 buses. I have a tour bus now. Um, I, I was in the carnival business 11 years. I stizzle spizzik, a little kids aren't izzy tizok. I worked for real gypsies. But the life that we're trying to define for me right now, it's an actual hobo life. And a hobo is a worker that wanders
Correct.
and sometimes takes longish holidays. And what most people don't know is that there's a code of ethics on record in the Library of Congress, a hobo code of ethics. And it's really cool. And most people live by these ethics. But a hobo is a worker that wanders, which is different than a bum who only works when they're forced to, or a tramp who never works at all.
Yeah, I did have to look up the word to really get a fundamental understanding of what hobo was, so that I can properly ask these questions and understand who you
You
were.
know that I de-spell spelling. It's one of the strengths of
We're
waking. The
we're
word
di we're diving
hobo,
we're diving all into that. I have all these
the
questions.
word hobo comes from the term ho boy. It came out of the Depression in the United States when in the cities there wasn't any work and men began to jump on trains and go out to the Midwest to try to find some agricultural employment, which caused them to end up with a hoe as their tool, and they tied their clothes on the back and they became known as hoe boys or hobos. Go ahead.
Super interesting. Okay, so then you entered the Catholic seminary at 14 years old. Now,
Correct.
why?
What
Was something that,
stimulated that what stimulated that was what happened to me on August 25th, 1959, on my fourth birthday. This is my true waking happened in a flash, in one moment. Very, very incredible story. Unforgettable moment in my life. It was a key moment in my life. What happened to me at 4 years old. That's how old I was on that date. And 10 years later, I was in a seminary. And the reason I entered the seminary was I was asking my parents questions they couldn't answer. And it was to the point that they were looking for outside help to answer questions that I had. And after a while, it was my mother who said, the way you talk and the way you think, maybe you ought to think about becoming a priest. This was at a key moment in my life because it was I was in eighth grade and we were all being prompted to try to make a decision about what career we might have at that time in order to go into the right high school, whether a trade school or get college courses. There was a pressure to sort of decide at 14 years old, like what you wanted to be in life. And it was an embarrassment for me. I didn't want to be a frickin' priest.
Was your family really hardcore Catholics practicing the religion?
Not really, just basic Catholics, and not even that hardcore. So it wasn't that. But the answer to that question is it was the only outlet for a spiritual focus that my family knew about, or even I, it's
Yeah.
like the way
It makes sense. They were trying to support you, and this is the only way that they knew how to.
I was asking them questions. Like one day, my father came to me. He goes, "Come on, I want to talk to you." And we sat down. And I don't come from that kind of people, but this is what happened. And he goes, "The mother said you have questions that you don't have answers to, and you want answers to, and she can't answer them. What do you want to know?" He said. Now this is a bulldozer mechanic, right?
Mhm.
Everybody knew him as Big Daddy. I said, "Well, for starters, I'd like to know what happens to us when we die."
That makes two of us.
You know what I'm saying? And he just looked at me and goes, "Nothing. It's over, lights out. You don't have to worry about it. It won't be painful. It won't be, sad." That was his take, it's like the sorrow, right? Don't worry, you won't feel nothing. And he goes, "What else you want to know?" And I go, "That's it." And he walked out the door and I go, "That guy don't know shit."
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's
And
right.
I didn't judge him. It was just like, it began like that with me. It was just like, nobody knows nothing.
Yeah.
I don't
Nope.
care where I went, what I looked at. It was like, I don't care how much they had or didn't have or who they were or what they weren't. They were missing something.
I think a lot of it also has to do that people like this it's just so out there, right? And it's a fearful topic also. So it's like I'm better off not knowing at this point, I'm just, I operate better just not even understanding what the heck
But
happened
I'll tell you
when we die.
that is a foul. I understand that psychology, um, evasion, evading the situation. It's the most natural act you'll ever have in your life is dying, obviously. And I thought to myself at a very young age, if this is such a natural thing, and it is natural, it's
And,
nature,
and
then it
guaranteed
must be
and
good.
it's like the one guaranteed thing that we know will happen.
There's no doubt, right? And so
Hmm.
we're always headed toward that, walking toward that. So I said to myself, I need to understand what this is. It's fundamental
Yeah.
to my life, and I could see why people would turn their focus away from it. But to me, that was weakness, and now in them, and inability to stand up and face some facts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my father passed away a couple of years ago, and as he was I guess welcoming, that part of his life where he knew he got sick, he got cancer, like it was
Yeah,
happening.
he was welcoming it. He began to accept it. Go ahead.
And he was just that was the topic of all of our conversations. And I think this is why I'm so inclined and spiritually open to just understanding this a little bit more, set aside all the fears. It was
Mhm.
that big question, like what happens to us when we die? Where do we
Let me
go?
just say this: uh, the the answer to that question, and the searching for it and finally getting it, is the most pleasurable, enjoyable, meaningful, fruitful thing that you could ever have. This thing that everybody's afraid of, when you really understand what it is, it broadens. I mean, like you talk about spiritual broadness, it broadens every perception of your life. And you don't, but let me tell you why people fear death is because of the polarization of their mind. People are too rational, not enough spiritual. The human being has two consciousnesses, me and myself together make I. But whenever myself will not listen to me, then you're going to fear death. You're going to fear the unknown. You're going to be frustrated, be anxious, be unhealthy. All of these are symptoms of a polarized consciousness, which means, let me say it like this. Albert Einstein said that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant.
That's right.
He said that we have created a society that honors the servant, the rational mind, rational, and has forgotten the gift. This is mankind's key problem. This,
But is this also because of the programming that they want to
no,
instill in all
no,
of us?
it is because of design. Let's take a little second here. This is a fun part. Okay, so here you have God, mother, father is the way I speak it. Mother, father, the
Okay,
feminine, masculine principle.
got
Okay. They're not two bodies really, although they can manifest in bodies and whatever, but whatever. So there's two principles, two virtues, two principles. What mankind is under the influence of now is what we call the personification of principles, where they turn these invisible virtues, values, morals into people. Okay, that's the problem. So when I deal with mother, father, God, the mystery, direct, they were faced with a problem having offspring. They are a living duality. From this living thing, like life brings life. Okay, so call them life.
it. Hmm.
They're not two opposite. They're not two different things. They're the opposite poles of the same thing. That's the Trinity, but that's another thing. Now they were faced with a dilemma. We are living things. We are loving things. We love each other. We are full of life and full of love. We're going to produce offspring. It's natural. When two come together, it creates the third, period. Right now, you have one consciousness. I have a consciousness. That's two consciousnesses. But as soon as we start talking, there's a third consciousness happening. There's no way to escape three. That's why three is such a big thing. Now, so they're faced with a dilemma. Okay, we're going to have children, whether it's a blade of grass child or a bird child or whatever kind of child. But let's talk about human children, all right? We're going to have children. We got two choices. One, we program them, here we go, programming, to be perfect, all knowing, flawless, and set them loose into some earth and just let them live. They can never make a mistake. Nobody could be mean, rude, harsh, none of that. Everything's set up perfect. The problem with that is you'd be a robot,
That's right.
and
That's
they
right.
knew it. And they knew it. And they're like, well, we can't have children that are robots because we're not robots, right? And they understand the importance of a living being. So the next possibility was, all right, let's have offspring and let's make them in our image after our likeness. That meant you had a free will. That meant there's going to be trouble. That meant there's going to be pain. That meant there's going to be a living being.
Let me interrupt you there for a second because I was speaking with an astrologer and a numerologist,
Yes,
and we got into the topic of free will. And he
yes.
was saying that yes, to a certain extent, we do have free will. However, based on astrology and the divine and how everything was positioned when we were born, there's a preset lifestyle and cycle that we are already meant to take place in.
Nope, nope. Astronomy, which is the motion of the heavens, has an astrology to it, which is the meaning of that motion. But it's like weather upon you. It is not going to make who you are at all. It is like an elemental or environmental influence on you.
So we
That's all
truly
it is.
do have the power within us to shift
You are
and
where
create
you are to you are where you are today because of the choices that you made.
Okay, I love that.
You may not have unlimited choices, but you have a choice in everything you do. And this is the beautiful part right here. It's like if you choose, because you just know that, all right, this is the easy way, this is the way everybody else is doing it, this is kind of like the logical way to do it, but you say to yourself, wait a minute, I want to wait a minute, let my feelings talk to my thoughts. I'm not going to let my thoughts direct what I'm doing here. I see what everybody's doing, I see how I could do it, but wait a minute, what is my heart saying? You'll
Right.
find another path. It opens up right there. It takes a minute. Like my friend Bridge said, Hobo, most people don't wait the extra 5 minutes for a miracle to happen. And man, I'll tell you, I do this like this is the way I am. Whenever I'm presented with an idea, it causes a feeling, which causes a thought, and then if there's action, there's the manifested reality. I understand this four-phase system of manifestation. That's why there's four suits and a deck of cards and all
Mhm.
that. There's the quartering. I understand how it works. So what I'm doing is I get my thoughts to listen to my feelings. Now, feelings are not emotion. Emotions are a hoax. If you and I are on the Titanic and we find out it's sinking, please don't get emotional.
Right, right. Impossible.
We're screwed.
Yeah.
When you look at it closely, emotions are triggered by thoughts, but no feeling is ever triggered by a thought. A feeling triggers a thought. So what needs to happen here, and this is how you bring the whole mindedness to yourself rather than a polarized mind. Instead of just thought processing, you get your thoughts to do what they're supposed to do. Albert Einstein said the rational mind was the servant mind. It's supposed to listen to feeling, the other, another you. It's supposed to listen and get its instructions from the other, another you. You're a twin. You are an absolute bona fide twin. And if your thought would listen to your other you, your feminine you, it's your feminine you is getting all instructions from heart, which is the sanctuary, the tabernacle, the holiest of holies in you is your spiritual heart. That's where heaven or God, however you want to look at it, will always be in you.
Okay, so how do we tap into that?
You have to collapse your rational mind. This is the problem.
How?
Tarot
How,
teaches.
how do we do that?
You catch it every time it pops up. It's like that whack-a-mole thing. You ought to hear me walking around. I'm yelling at my mind all the time. I'm going, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. And like it's like trying to train a dog. You like sit down. I tell my dog, he's around here somewhere.
What
Rocco.
what is that, a German?
Yeah,
Oh,
Rocco.
what's his name? Rocco? Oh, that's a
Yeah,
cutie.
yeah, he's Rocco. So I'm like training him since a pup, right? Sit down. Sit. I get him to sit down. As soon as I turn my back, he's up again. I'm
Right.
like, son of a gun. And that's how your thought consciousness is. And after a while, you become skilled at understanding the difference between a thought and a feeling. This is when you get interested. This is when you get more interested again. It's like, really? Let me give an example quickly. I was going down to Los Angeles one time to meet somebody that was coming in from England. It's a subscriber, and I needed a ride, so I asked a friend to give me a ride, which required him to come 1 hour to pick me up, and then 2 hours to L.A. And we're driving down the road to L.A., and he knows my meeting is at 5, and we're buzzing right along, and everything's on schedule. And he all of a sudden, out of the blue, he goes, "Hey, Hobo, what time do we got to be in L.A.?" I knew that he knew. This is how you use your own mind. I didn't just jump in. Oh, 5 o'clock. Whoa, 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 whoa. My thoughts are listening to my feelings. My feelings said he already knows. So what's he really asking? Because nobody ever asks a direct question.
Okay.
That's why they don't get direct answers. But anyway, so I contemplated on it, let my feelings speak to my thought, and I turned around to him. I go, "Why? What do you have in mind?"
Right. Like what's your idea? What do you want to do?
Yeah, exactly. What do you have in mind? Because you obviously, I know you know. You're the driver. You picked me up. This has been scheduled. You picked me up on time. You know how far we got to go. You know.
That's
I'm
super
like,
interesting.
why?
You're
What's it?
so right about that. Now that you're explaining it, it's really
Yeah.
coming to,
Well,
yeah.
this is how you can help somebody. If you can get all that sorted out as a doctor here, I got to figure out what's going on here. Then you're helping this person. You're not just solving a mystery. I'm trying to help this guy's a subscriber or whatever, and I'm trying to help him in his life, and so forth and so on. Right? Excuse me. So I go, why? What do you got in mind? He goes, well, I got a friend here, and I was always wanting to hopefully get a chance to have you two meet and so forth and so on. I go, bro, is this a thought or is this a feeling? And then he started to remember. And I'm watching him, the gears turning. He goes, it's a feeling. I go, well, then let's go. Who cares about LA? Who cares about 5 o'clock? If this is a feeling, which will more than likely not be logical, because that's what logic is logical, rational. If it's a feeling, it's a destiny thing. But because of logic, we're going to override that feeling. I've got a 5 o'clock appointment. Screw it. No, I'm different. I'm like, if it's a feeling, let's go. You're going to laugh here in a
There
minute.
is a reason why the universe is pushing us to go in this direction.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And if we just keep going by our logic or by our patterns, we're going to miss all that shit. You're in a
Yeah.
partnership with the divine. Let him. If I tell people, if you're in a partnership or you ask God to get into your life as a partner, help you do something, expect your plans to change. You got a partner anyway. So I go, if I said, if it's a feeling, then follow it. Let's go. I swear to God, it was like within a second, he just almost he whipped the wheel and he went off that next exit right there. It's like we're getting closer into LA. There's a lot of exits. He just whoop. I'm like in the car like this. Whoa. And he pulls up to the light and I'm just watching, observing. And next thing I know, we're at a four-way intersection, relatively busy area. And there's cars everywhere. And somebody across the corner in the other intersection in a car, hanging out the window, screaming, "Hey, hey, hey!" I'm like, "What the?" He goes, "That's the guy I want you to meet."
No way. That's crazy. That's
Oh,
insane.
my life is full of that stuff.
It was like that crossroad, right? Like it was meant for you guys to meet at that particular moment, and that,
More than anything, it was we would have met the guy anyway, but it was a validation to him and me both
yeah, that you were on the
that
right path.
that we were on the right path,
That's right.
right? And who knows what we averted? Who knows what we missed by getting off the highway at that time and
Right.
following this whatever. But that's how it works.
Right.
How
That's
did we
what they
get to
say,
that
right?
point?
Like sometimes when you can't find your car keys, and then it's like maybe
Exactly.
that's just the universe or God or whatever higher
Right.
source you
But
believe
here's
in,
another. Okay, now you.
helping you avoid a
Oh
horrible
yeah,
accident, you know?
absolutely, absolutely every time. I got a thing about car keys. All right. When I first came to realize, nobody told me the things that I share. I had to recover them. I don't say discover them. When it comes to car keys,
I like
you
that.
always realize you can't find them right when you need them. So it's always this pressure, right? Because you're meant to go. You got your bag, you got your boots, you got your hat, you got your umbrella. All right, where's the car keys? Oh shit! So there's a timing issue here.
Sure.
One of your minds is timed mind, the rational. The other one is spatial, spiritual, eternally minded. And there's a conflict there. Now, so whenever there's a pressure of time upon the mind, the rational mind is going to be froze like a deer in the headlights. It can't remember, recognate anything because it's under the pressure of time. That's why these reality TV shows always have the timer on. We got to have this motorcycle done by then. We got to have this done by then. It's got to be because time is like the drama, right? So, and ego loves drama, but whatever. So the car keys, right? Right when you're getting ready to walk out the door, you realize you don't have your car keys. All of a sudden, you're under the pressure. Oh shit! All right, I gave myself a few extra minutes, but I ain't got much time. And you're going through the whole house or wherever, under the carpets, under the cushions, under the newspapers, on the kitchen table, in the bathroom, in the last clothes I wore, here, there, everywhere. And the more you look, you find yourself right back again, looking in the same places again. You're basically running a circle, and your thoughts cannot remember what you know. I'm like, really? I'm the one who put the keys down. How come I can't recollect that? There's two minds working here. There's the one that cannot remember and the one that knows. Your rational mind is the one that forgets, and your intuitive mind will never forget anything you ever experienced, ever.
Recovering your thoughts. I like the way you position.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So one day I'm in this position and I'm frustrated and I'm the mystic, so I'm like a little embarrassed at myself. I'm like, Christ, you're falling apart over the keys. You should know. I go, you know what, Hobo, you should know better. You know from what you've learned, even though you've never tried it or applied it, you know that you know where those keys are. I was trying to lock up the place. It wasn't even car. It was just the keys to the place, and I was getting ready to go take a bus into somewhere. So I'm like, you know where they are. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to practice what I preach. And I can still see it, stood right in the middle of the room, stopped right there, stopped, boom. All right, that's it. This is over. I'm either right or wrong. I can either recall my thoughts. I can either know what I know and find these keys without having to look another inch, or it doesn't work. So really quickly, I stood in the room and I go, you got to get your thoughts to ask your feelings where these keys are. And I call it Jack and Jill because that's the gypsy riddle, and we'll talk about that sometime maybe. But it is. And so I got Jack and Jill going here. So I go, okay, Jack, because I'm the I, me, myself, I'm the one listening to the two, right? So that's how I know where I am. But anyway, I go, okay, Jack, this is I talking to Jack. You got to ask your sister, Jill, where the keys are. So go for it. Really do it. Don't just sit there thinking. Get it done. Speak it. So I go to myself, all right, Jill, where's the keys? And then
So
I go,
this is how you get into that whole when we're talking to ourselves.
yeah.
We do that all the time. We really do.
Everybody talks to themselves, but
Yeah,
nobody's doing it intellectually. They don't realize that there's a two there. How are you having a conversation if there's no two?
that's right.
This is key. Mankind used to realize that every human being is a person, Two. That's why you can never be alone, ever. You got you, but that's another point. So I go, all right, Jack, ask Jill. And my Jack goes, all right, Jill, where's the keys? And my I goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. You talking to your sister like that? You pompous son of a bitch. You ask how you collapse ego, you catch it right like that. You see yourself under the influence of your own damn ego. And so I'm telling my thought consciousness to ask my beloved, knowing, eternal, intuitive, feminine consciousness. And it goes, all right, Jill, where's the keys? And I'm like, I realized right there, what a pompous son of a bitch. What a tyrant. And the one that can't even find the keys is talking down on the one who knows where they are. I realized I was in trouble mentally. I'm like, holy smokes. I go, whoa, you better talk nice to her. And I'm standing in a room, there's nobody around me, and I'm having this conversation like this. Because I'm going to have Jill tell Jack where those keys are, or I'll stand there and die. I swear to God, that's how I am. So I go, all right, now do it right. And I actually got my tyrant to calm down a little bit, realize, because it's smart. It knows it's got to, it can't keep doing it wrong and get it right. So it's like, I guess that was kind of bad. I said to myself, right? I go, okay, Jill, this is Jack. I need some help. Can you tell me where the keys are? And then I've done this before, and I get a lot better at it ever more. At that point, once I've asked the question, it's time to get Jack to shut up and sit down. Get your thoughts to shut up. How is your quiet inner voice going to speak to you if your thoughts are still wondering what's going to happen? Is it going to happen? When will I hear the answer? All that's got to be shut down. And it's not easy because that mind. So, but I'm better at it. So when I get to that point, I go, okay, Jill, I'll wait for the answer. You know this is knowledge. Knowledge is important. Forget believing. It's not. You got to wait. Patience is a big thing. And so I stood there and I just kept. allowing the thoughts that were coming through my mind to sift out, just wouldn't pay attention to them, just let them go, let them go, let them go. Realizing that was happening now, all the while. But then here it comes. Every time, it still does. Every day I use this, and next thing I know, I feel it. I can feel it in my solar plexus. It seems like it's a bubble or something.
But
It's
but what
coming up.
but what do you do to yourself to get to almost like that meditative state in order to be
I
able,
rebuke my thoughts
how do you do that?
by by like I just did when it's called mindfulness, self-awareness.
Hmm.
Realizing that your thoughts are dominating your head and that your feelings have never had a chance. It's observational skill, intuitive observational skill. It's how every science was ever brought into existence by our ancestors that had no devices. It
Right.
comes from within. You got to be mindful. You're the judge. You're the eye sitting on the on let's say the throne of your mind, and there's things going on between your intuitive, your rational consciousness and your intuitive consciousness. It takes up two consciousnesses to make a mind, and they're hovering over a single heart. So the heart's where the info's coming in from the mothership, if you will, the mother, and feeling picks it up. The intuitive feeling picks up that information, keeps it completely pure, but then the thought gets a hold of it, and oh my God, here we go. So
Yeah.
you got to watch your thoughts. Let me say this to you. When I used to live in Frisco and dealt a lot in that city, in and out, I used to ride on the subway. And I used to realize that my mind was wandering all the while I was on the subway. You know, this thing would stop, doors would open, people come in and go out. And I go, man, this is ridiculous. My mind is just wandering. So now I always carry a meditation with me. It's usually focused on a tarot card. And I have a photographic memory so I can see every tarot card every time I look at it or think about it. And when I'm in public and I'm away from the sanctuary, I keep my mindfulness going, and I'm very self-aware. I'm watching the action in my mind. I think this is something I take for granted, and I don't think people can do it as much as I do it. Really watching this action, watching my thoughts, realizing when they're out of order. You know, like I said, hey Jack, this is hey Jill, this is Jack. But anyway,
But I think that that also stems from the fact that you had a predisposition to the spiritual knowledge that you were yearning for since you were like a young kid, right? At that
it's to
point,
focus on it, yes,
right?
and therefore I see the
And you ta
value in it.
and you taught yourself, right? Because it's about
Oh yeah,
educating
this
yourself also.
it's teaching yourself is also another word for that is transforming yourself.
Hmm.
It's one thing to teach yourself these things. That'll only go so far, but to actually work them into your life. And even that day when I was standing there in that room, I wouldn't move. There's no way I was going to move. There's no way on earth,
Until you
excuse
found
me
those
again,
keys.
no, because this stuff either works or it doesn't. So it started to come up like a bubble. You can feel it like it's like a physical feeling kind of thing, but it's
Yeah.
not like indigestion or anything. But it's just definitely there, and I'm aware of it more, and I realize it. Then it goes from a bubble to a picture, and from a picture to a thought. And this is tarot all the way. Tarot on the four phases.
Is that like the third eye that people talk about?
No, the third eye is actually a lie, as my book talks about.
Hmm.
That's your consciousness coming. That's your thought consciousness actually communicating with feeling when that happens. It's realization, and so you begin to realize what you knew, but you had forgot, right? So here it comes, and when this happens, when it comes up, and this happens instantly all day long if you want, it comes up. It's like a feeling in you. You know, I know the answer's coming. When I feel that, I know it'll be infallible. There's just such an assurity in it. You know you're getting the answer now. And it comes up, and then it turns to a picture and then a thought. And what happens is this so-called third eye or inner eye, um, you don't just remember where they are. You in the present moment actually see with your inner eye where they are. Your
Really?
mind sees them. It's crazy.
And that's what happened to you that day. Your mind saw it and you went for it and
Yep.
it was there and you got
And
confirmation. Yes.
as soon as I felt the feeling coming, and then the picture started to develop, and I'm waiting, and it just takes a couple milliseconds. Boom! There they were, hanging in the bike lock downstairs in the garage.
That's crazy.
I saw them. And
That's
as I began to go down the stairs and out into the backyard and into the garage, when I opened the garage, of course, my thought consciousness is back in action, and I know where that bike is, and I'm going to look right to the bike. As soon as I open the door, just like a ray, my eyes went right to where they were, and they were dangling there, even with the background of them, which was in the garage. It was there as I saw it in my eyes. You just know that's where they are. And man, did I learn some stuff there. I'm
yeah.
like, man, I do this with people. Like when you meet people, you exchange each other's names, and then a few seconds later, you realize you forgot their name. The
Mm-hmm.
reason that happens, is because the rational mind is is cordially asking their name, but what it's really trying to figure out is the soul of them, who they are
Who are
invisibly.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, and so the mind's all over that and forgets the name, because really, who cares about the name? But it's a cordial thing. But whenever I find that this happens to me, and and I'm trying to honor the person by remembering their name, I do the same thing I do with the keys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we also do that, right? When we meet people, it's like how we talk about like, man, this guy was just off when I spoke to him. I just got a bad vibe from
Right.
him. Right. We intuitively understand when
But I can
somebody,
tell the difference between when I'm trying to remember the name with my thoughts, like
Mhm.
looking around on the couch cushions and on the tables with my thoughts. I can tell the difference between I'm doing it that way, or if I'm getting my thoughts to outright, flat out ask my feeling consciousness. I can tell the difference when my thoughts are doing the work, or when my thought is asking feeling and waiting for the answer. This is the thing. It's so real.
That's the formula right there to
Oh
just
man.
understand. Mm-hmm.
Oh man. And so it brings me to something I think should be said here is I've been on the road over 40 years. And when I decided to live this type of a life, excuse me again, to become a real hobo, because my option was to become a cutthroat businessman. And I go, even though I don't know I have a soul, I kind of feel like I lose one if I got into the business the way I would, because I'm an extremist. So I said, no, you can't be a businessman. You'll be just the worst there ever was, the best there ever was, and that's going to be bad. So I said, all right, then I'm going to be a hobo. And I realized at that moment when I made this decision, very young, that there's two things in life I could never be if I was going to be a successful hobo. And that would be I cannot be a thief and I cannot be a liar.
Mhm.
To live on the road for 40 years, not have a regular job, and not be a thief and a liar is a difficult thing to do. Are you
Right.
kidding me?
Right.
Oh my God. Even to this moment, there's always the easy way out. But I found that by taking not the easy way out and taking the right way out, man, if I've been led into I'm at somebody's house right now, man. I mean, it's like a mansion kind of thing, and they're a
Yeah, it looks real
subscriber.
pretty. Yeah, it
Oh,
looks
they're a
real nice.
subscriber of mine. They're just like, hey, man, what's come stay over here? I got people who want me to be in Mexico. Things happen to me like in the craziest of ways because I do not live logically. I don't ignore logic. Logic is there to carry out what the heart is trying to get you to do. So it's not going to make you do something stupid, but there's doors open, man.
So let's dive into that part a little bit. So then how do we know why we're here? That's like the big, like, why are we here?
Well,
That why.
tarot is where I get all my answers from. And when I say that, I don't mean I ask the tarot cards and they tell me the answer. That's not it. People don't know what tarot is. Tarot cards were never invented for fortune telling. That came way later. Tarot cards in the artwork, in the symbols of the artwork of the correct deck, hold the answers to the questions you just asked. Tarot knowledge, which is what it is, the science of mind, the science of you. You don't have a mind, you are a mind. It answers four fundamental questions: where you came from, where you are now, why you're here and where you're going. Most people just want to know where they are and what's happening next. They don't bring into the picture the fact that maybe I had an existence preconception. Maybe I have a real purpose for being here. And maybe I am going somewhere else from here. And part of that stems from the fact that earthly parents program their children to believe that the earthly parents created them, that
Not
they were
only that,
created
right, and whatever traumas or experiences they've had, they're um, sending all those lessons over to you because that's all that they know,
totally,
that programming, right?
totally, totally. And so, but the idea that your beginning started on some creaky bed springs in the middle of some night with two humans sweating on each other,
Hmm.
that would pretty much give credence to the fact that your ending will be in some stupid 6 foot deep dirt pile.
Yeah.
When you think that that's the way you began, when you think that you began by two human beings copulating or whatever you call it, um, then you're already doomed. And I told this to a mother once who came on my bus for a reading, and she brought a young, little girl with her, and I set the little girl over in another area and gave her pens and pencils and paper so she could draw, and I would do the reading for the mother. At some point during the reading, I was talking to the mother, and the mother says, "Oh, I know I'm a child of God." And I go, "Oh, cool." Um, I go, "Oh, by the way, whose child is that right there?" I was getting ready to trap her, to help her. She goes, "Oh, that's my child." I go, "Excuse me? You just told me you're a child of God. When does that child get to be?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's true. That's true.
when does that one get to be that? When will it escape your ownership rights?" She goes, "Oh my God, right?" And then another woman, actually in the same town, came on the bus later on, and I was doing her reading, and she said, "I want to tell you, my husband and I, we've been thinking about maybe having another child." And before she could say another word, I said, "But you're afraid of the world you're bringing the child into, correct?" She goes, "Wow, how'd you know that?" I go, "I feel you." I said, "But let me tell you something. The world has always been dangerous for children. I don't care. Go back to medieval times. It's hard to survive." She goes, "Yeah, that's true." I go, "But I'll tell you something else. I'm going to tell you the biggest danger your child would ever face and will ever face in this life." And she goes, "What's that?" And I go, "It's you." Almost like you just said, your parents are going to like bring you up in their limitations,
Hmm.
and their expectations. I said, the biggest danger that this any child you would ever have will face in this life is you. And she was a little bit shocked. And I know how to do that. And I said, that's because what are you going to teach this child? This goes back to what your main question is, like, how do I become spiritual? Well, you're already spiritual. You got to be less physical. That's the point. But anyway, she goes, "Well, how would I be that?" Most dangerous thing. I go, "Well, what are you going to teach the child? How to tie its shoes,
Right.
how to brush its hair,
Hmm.
how to brush its teeth, how to hold a fork, how to not spill stuff on the floor, how to be quiet, how to sit in rows of desks looking at the backs of each other's heads for 12 years without getting unruly, how to get his driver's license. Oh, the big day. My little child got their driver's license. Yeah, now they can get stuck in traffic jams for the rest of their life like you are."
I know, right? And
She's
all stressed out.
right. And this woman's looking at me, and I'm going, and the worst thing is you're going to teach this child that you created it. And this child will be doomed by that, totally doomed, because they're never going to know that they were created by the soul mother, that they had an existence preconception, that they have a soul, and that soul is not made of matter and it's not created on earth. You, as her parent, has conceived her flesh, and that's all you've done.
Hmm.
Technically, in this world, earthly parents should be the godparents. They're in place of God, if you will, on this earth. But earthly parents are more like siblings than they are like parents of anything. They didn't create themselves. They didn't create you. None of that. And here's another thing I like to tell people. This helps. Excuse me. Nothing is ever created. This stupid word. What is this, Home Depot? Is this some kind of construction project? You were created? Nothing was ever created. Life is a living thing. Everything is born into existence. But you were not born here. You were birthed here.
Mm-hmm.
You were delivered here after conception. And so you're not from here and you're not staying here. So when people ask me what I think about aliens, I go, I'm looking at one right now when I'm looking at you.
Right.
The human body is a curious spaceship.
Right. Right.
You came into this world by passing through a human body, your mother's. And you're going to leave this world in the same way by passing through a human body, your own. You are the ghost within. Now, why are we here? We're here because the maturation of a soul is a very, very precarious thing. To mature a soul, to get a soul into an environment, a foundry, a forgery, someplace, a factory where this soul can grow and mature. We're not growing a body here. We're not growing a tomato plant here. You're talking about a free will, living, omnipotent soul, an offspring of the divine mystery, and what it takes to grow that. And the chief lesson of our lives, and it takes many lives, is that you are a pair. There's two sisters in Michigan called Abby and Brittany Hensel. And I often tell my people to YouTube them. To
Abby and what?
YouTube
Abby and Brittany?
Abby and Brittany, their last name is Hensel. You don't even have to put that in. They're in Michigan.
Okay.
And I tell my people that I'm helping, YouTube them. And when you see these sisters, understand that I've told you that if your mind could step outside of your body, that's what it would look like. They have one body and two heads,
So what, Siamese twins?
conjoined.
Conjoined.
One body is very rare.
I know who you're talking about now. I know
And
who
I
you're
tell
talking.
people, if your mind could step outside of your body, that's exactly what it would look like. They're not freak of nature. I say 1,000,000 years ago, every human had two heads. It's even in the alchemy art.
Mm-hmm.
The,
It is.
the two U's, moon and sun, whatever, lunar, solar. The human being is a pair. You can never be alone. And the lover's card of tarot, people think when they see the lover's card in tarot, oh, you're going to meet a lover. The first love is your thoughts loving your feelings.
So then
But this is
why is it that so many people in today's society struggle with loneliness?
because they're not in a relationship with themselves. And so it manifests as loneliness in the outer world. So many people in the world are in terrible relationships with other people because they're not in a relationship of themselves to themselves. Ralph Blum, Book of Runes, says the first relationship is the self with the self, because from that relationship, all other relationships flow. And this goes back to my principal point that reality is your mirror. Your mate, the person in your life, the love in your life or not in your life, is telling you something about the relationship of yourself to yourself. Think about how important it is to have a mirror to your formless, invisible self.
Yeah.
How do you know what condition you're in? Oh, we could look in a regular mirror on Earth and see what condition that we're in physically. But how do you know what condition you're in as a being? And the outer world is going to always reflect back to you personally how that relationship, and it's a very simple thing, how the relationship between your servant mind, your thought consciousness is with your sacred mind, your spiritual consciousness. In antiquity, going way, way back, the doctors said, if I cannot cure your soul, I cannot cure your body. That's where medicine's messed up today. They're working on symptoms. The physical is the effect, the spiritual is the cause. Back in the old days, people hid their infirmities. You didn't go around, displaying your illnesses and shit. People didn't want you to know if they had something wrong with them.
Right.
Because back then they knew that meant there was something out of order with their relationship to themselves, and nobody can get back to heaven. Nobody can go back to the kingdom from whence we came until this is resolved, because otherwise you'll be a danger in that kingdom.
Yeah.
That's why we're here in 1111, which is basically the quartering 1 1 1 1. It's a playpen. We are under the governance of Saturn and the other governors, which is a restriction upon the unlimited, limitless soul. If you were unrestricted, being who you are as a living being soul, you would destroy everything soon. Look what we're doing to the world with the limited power we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. So do spirit guides and guardian angels exist, and are they here protecting us and guiding us?
No, they don't exist. They're a fig Newton of man's imagination. Angels stemmed out of sculpturing and artwork, where the sculptor or the artist would place stylized wings upon a human being. This was a symbol of a higher minded human being. I tell people, because I used to work online, I was rated 15th in the world as a tarot reader on the world's biggest psychic website, LiveCam, O-Random, and all that. And everybody there had a guide. Everybody had a guide. I want to get to my guides. And people go, "Who's your guide, Hobo?" I go, "God." What do you mean, who's my God?
Yeah.
People don't believe in God, so they won't talk about God. They believe in angels, though. Oh, angels, yeah, they do God's work. I go, what? So I used to tell people, I go, I'll kick an angel's ass.
Go direct to the source, right?
Hell yeah. I go, they can hear me. Mother can hear me coming when I come to heaven. Because I'm stomping angels' asses, guides, and everything else on the way in. Oh, okay, here's one day, I'm Archangel Michael. I go, oh, you're one of the big ones, huh? What is this, the military? Oh, you're the
How
general?
how about consecutive numbers, or 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2, how they talk about
Yeah.
angel numbers? That's what they call them, right? Is there any truth or validity to that, or is
Well,
that
everything
also?
is, yes, because the basic, again, reality is a mirror. So everything is reflecting something back to you. And because man is coming into a different alignment and a shift within man's own consciousness, these kind of things are popping up. But remember, numbers don't grow on trees. Numbers are man-made. If they weren't made by man, they wouldn't be here. But what's curious, and I'm a master at this, is there's only 9 numbers. So all these other compound numbers, they deduce to a common digital root number, and that's the one you want to work with when you're talking numerology. And the reason there's 9 numbers is because there's 9 months to gestation, the human gestation. The ancient people realized that not only was there 9 months to human gestation, but this was an absolute system of 9. There's a system of 7, the septenary, 7 days in a week, 7 colors and rainbows, 7 wonders of the world, 7 cardinal virtues, 7 deadly sins, all that.
Right.
There's a septenary. There is the 12, the zodiacal 12, 3, the Trinity, but all these things. So they also realized that there was a system of 9. And believe it or not, even this podcast is being governed by the system of 9. It began at 0, which is the ovum, no, the ovary, and 1 is the ovum. So everything's coming from mother, and that's what 0 is. 0 is the symbol of eternity and space and emptiness, the womb. Everything, even if I scratch my nose, it began with mother. Mother, without the force, without the power, without the potential, you couldn't do anything. And that's one word I use when I talk about mother a lot, is potential. We can we can think of mother, the mother principle, the great soul mother. We can think of her as being unlimited, unconditional potential, which we know exists. I mean, in this cosmic situation, my God, a human being, we often think that we're little and we're tiny and we're minuscule and we're insignificant. And I
Yeah.
tell people, think about an atom, one atom. If you split an atom, it'll blow up your whole area, but you can't even see the thing.
Can't
And
see
you're
it.
breathing in 80 billion of them a second. So
Mhm.
don't tell me that you're little. And if you think you're too little to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. And another thing is, you know what I mean? And another thing is, everybody thinks God is big. And I go, God ain't big. God is little, man. Little's big. See, ego, all big, but grandiose. No, the little things are what matters. And so God is little, man, sublime. And to be little is a great thing. See, the ego let me tell you something I just recently went through. I came to realize that the more I learn, the less I know. And that bothered my ego. I'm like, hey man, I need to know some shit. I mean, I went through all my life, but I don't know anything now. That ain't right. And it took me a little minute, and I'm like, finally got my head around it. And I go, you know what? That is okay. I'm okay with not knowing anything or everything. The more I learn, the less I know. I've worked my whole life to know shit. Right?
It's funny because that's what I always say now. Like the older I'm getting, the more I realize that I don't know shit.
Well, this
You know?
puts right. You're so right, and that's actually a good knowing, because what it does is it puts you into a position or a condition of open mindedness.
Right.
It's not like you're stupid. You've observed and experienced things, but you don't know anything really, because everything's continuously, constantly unfolding, because you are continuously, constantly
Right.
unfolding.
Correct. Correct. Let me ask you this. So going back to the numbers and numerology, what was the strengths, if you're familiar with it, with Nicholas Tesla and the 369 number sequencing that he basically ruled his life by?
Right. I w- I don't believe I understand those numbers 369 in the way that he was insinuating. One thing I will tell you about is nine.
Hmm.
If you add up all the numbers, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way out to 9, it comes to 45, which is 9. If you have a number 599 and you want to deduce it to its digital root number, you don't have to add it up. Just get rid of the nines. 599 will add up to 5. If even if it was 563, 6 and 3 are a combination of 9, so just get rid of the 6 and 3 and it'll add up to 5. So let's just try it. 5 and 6 is 11, and 3 is 14. 1 and 4 is 5.
Yep.
599, 5 and 9 is 14, plus 9 is 23, 2 and 3 is 5. I don't care if the numbers go from here all the way to China. All I have to do is go through there and take out every 9 or combination of 9. And whatever numbers are left, I add them up, it'll bring me to a digital root number. And so it's called casting out nines.
Okay.
9 is actually not a number. 9 is like this. I call it the stripper. The stripper. One thing I can tell you about numbers. The reason I got into numerology was because the number 4, haunts me.
Why is that?
It's everywhere with me all my whole life. I told you I woke on my 4th birthday.
Mhm. Oh
When I
yeah.
woke on that moment,
Right.
there was a cake with 4 candles burning on it. There was a hand in front of my face with 4 fingers up, and there was a voice saying, "Say your 4, say your 4." It was my 4th birthday. I went from not knowing anything, not being anywhere near even close to or having any self awareness, and in an instant, I go, "Wow, I'm alive on my 4th birthday." I went.
Do you think that these things happen because when we choose to come back and reincarnate, at that point we instruct ourselves at this particular time is when we're going to awaken in order to be able to take in all this
It
knowledge?
depends. It depends where you're at in development, because if you are not mystical, you plan to come back and be mystical, then you will not be fully mystical, because you never were. You can only be what you are. And so what happened to me may not happen to somebody who, like, for example, wasn't a mystic or a priest in previous past lives, because I felt as if what I know now is not just some, instant thing that I sort of saw, but it's a culmination and a buildup of my own processes and growth through many lifetimes.
Right.
many lifetimes. And I tell people, I used to be, let me tell you, girl, I used to be an avid non-reincarnationist. I mean, avid. I felt like it was just a sloppy spiritual excuse. I don't have to do shit now. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Now I know better. Reincarnation is absolutely true. And I've had people, hey, can you tell me about my past life? I go, which one do you want to know? How about your first past life? They go, what? Yeah, I go, your first one. Like, because you were born of mother and then you were incarnated. Incarnated means in flesh. Carnation is flesh colored. Incarnation means in flesh. Reincarnation means to come back into flesh. So I said, there was a time when you were born of mother. This is tarot, and she sent you out into the world. And then here in this world, you come and go. I said, your first past life was the one right after you left heaven. That's another story. But I tell people, you want to know about your past life? Which one?
Yeah.
When you were in mineral form? When you were in all vegetation forms, when you were in any and all animal forms.
So this is a good segue. So how powerful is water and its connection to the spirit world with us?
Oh my God. If I wasn't holding this phone, before I begin to answer that question, I'd have both my hands in front of my face and my head bowed. How powerful is water? Man, there is a lot of documentaries out there on the mystery of water.
Mm-hmm.
And they've come to find out that water has memory. It's like water is living. All right. So I tell people, okay, when I get into a waterfall, or you call it a shower, I'm with mother. You take the word water and turn the W upside down, you have mater, and that means mother. Water in this world is mother's presence, like in the most physical way you could ever get it. We can live without water. No, water can live without us, but we cannot live without water.
Correct.
Water is a living thing. It is not an element. There you go with the rational mind again, deducing this living thing to some sort of a basic, non-sentient element. Man, I'm telling you, water. And so I began to get into a relationship with water, and now I won't even get near it without talking to it. It's mother. It's mother, man.
I've even read about that before you drink it to say a prayer right before you drink
Absolutely.
water
They
because
did
you're taking all that.
it's called holy water now. Whole water. When you speak to water, it has memory. It's going to pick up what you are putting in it. And what happens with it is it restructures based on the vibe you give it, right? Or the intention. And they proved this. The guy that isolated the AIDS virus is and got the Pulitzer Prize or whatever prize. He got into this water thing. They did an experiment. They had a flask of water, and then they put it into three different cups, glass jars in three different rooms. And for a month, somebody would go into the one room, talk to the water in the cup, and talk nicely to it. And then go in the next room, talk to the water in that cup, talk bad to it, and then ignore the third one. After a month, they took drops from each of the jars, cryogenetically froze the drops, and put them under an electron microscope. And the water that was talked nicely to, it had a beautiful, like snowflake crystalline structure to it. The water that was talked bad to it looked like a train wreck.
It's
And the
incredible.
water that was ignored was putrid septic green, like mold, like
I've
thing.
seen those same experiments performed with
Changed
plants.
my life. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know what people do, but when I hear stuff like this, I stop whatever I'm doing. I'll quit my damn job and I'm going to go for that. And because the rewards are so crazy. When you start to honor water, water will become, oh man, will honor you. You see, mother and father, godmother and father are not pushy. If you don't have a relationship with them, then they're basically back there, you know. But if you bring them forward, man, they're like, hey, here we are, you know. And one of my relationship techniques with mother and father is I never ask them for anything.
Okay.
Never. That's bullshit. It's like people, oh, I'm praying for the war in Ukraine. I'm praying for. Well, you think God don't know about that war?
True. True.
Oh, so and so's dying. Margie next door, she's really ill and she's dying, and I'm praying to God that God will save her. I go, you don't think God knows Margie's dying? What is God, a vending machine?
Right. Right.
No wonder they don't have a relationship. So I never, ever, ever ask God, mother, father for anything. because to me that insinuates that I think that God, they have to do more.
So
That
what do you
somehow
do? What do you
they,
do? You thank them. You thank them.
no, I don't even do that because that gets old too. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. All right, enough. You know what I mean? It's like, what I do is I report, I
Okay.
include.
Okay, how? By talking to them and
I'll blurt right out, right out in front of everybody, and I'll start talking to Mother Father. These people brought me to their house one day, and they said, "We have a problem, Hobo." I go, "What is it?" They go, "Well, we're trying to sell our house, and we want to get more into our spiritual life, but it's during COVID, and we have a tenant on the property that won't leave. We tried to give them cash, they will not leave, and we can't sell the house because nobody wants to buy it with this tenant." You know what I did next? Mother, Father, and they both looked at me like, "Uh oh." I started talking to Mother and Father. I didn't
and
ask
you
them for nothing.
and what do? You hear the answer, you feel the answer?
It's more of an impression, and sometimes I'm not even looking for an answer. I'm just informing, right? I'm not expecting an answer. So I go, Mother and Father, these beautiful people are trying to live a more spiritual life and correct themselves and get into a better place to be doing what they should be doing. And they got this problem with a tenant over here. Just thought you should know. That's how I said to Mother. They know what I'm up to. They ain't stupid either. I go, I just thought you ought to know. And so the people go, "Wow, that was kind of weird." I go, "Oh, cool." We
Yeah.
finished up our coffee. A week later, they call me up. "Hey, can you come over for coffee again?" Sure. They met me on the side of the road with my tour bus, right, doing tarot readings, and they kept me in their life for a while. And yeah, I'll come over. So I come over, and we sit down and get the coffee out, and they get the cupcakes and stuff, and everybody sits down, and they go, "We wanted to inform you that we sold the house." I go, "Oh, really?" It was a week before that I made this report, right? I
Hmm.
go, "Really?" They go, "Yeah." And the person is going to take the tenant. I go, "Marvelous." And they go, "You're not going to believe it." I go, "Tell me." And they go, "And they're giving us $70,000 more than we asked for it. They
No
want
way.
to quit."
Shoot, I'm
Girl,
gonna
you
start
will not know
recording.
how much this shit happens to me all the time. Because by choosing to live the life and focus on the things that I'm talking about, rather than just go off like everybody else and hope I bump into it later, you missing out on all this,
So
right?
then,
This stuff.
so you mention that, when they ask you this question, you start talking to Mother, and they look at you like you're a freaking nut job at that
Yeah,
point. Like, what are you doing? So
yeah,
that's an interesting question then. So because I think that we all stumble with that opinion,
that's pride.
the judgment of others, right? Like,
That's
what
pride. Yeah, that's right.
how do we get to that level, to that point where you do not give a shit about what others think about you, and you are just living in your 100% authentic
You
self?
do what I did. You do 8 hits of Orange Barrel Sunshine LSD acid back in 1973. Find yourself on a highway with nothing but your shirt, and a pair of boots on, chasing cars. Get picked up by the cops. End up in jail naked. Then you won't give a shit what anybody says about you.
That sounds like a movie.
Oh my God.
That sounds
I
like a
don't,
movie
I
there,
have no
Hobo.
pride. Once you see who you are and what you are, and everybody's reserved, and "Well, I would never do that much acid and be on the side of a road." Well, then you'll never know who you are, man. I'll tell you, because people keep themselves really restricted and reserved, and in the playpen. Me, I jumped out a few times, and what I saw was like tarot. What a fool I am.
Do you
So
believe so you clearly believe then in mushrooms and psychedelics and
Oh,
for
I
it to
think they
help
have,
you?
yeah, they can be very beneficial for people. But I think that just like any other thing, eventually you want to grow away from that, because what they are doing is opening up things in your mind that, or allowing your mind to open up to certain ways. And you have to know that when you're at a skilled level, you won't need those things to make your mind open up, because it's the mind that's opening. You're just needing something external to help with that. But yeah, I definitely, it's not for everybody and all, and I don't do it anymore, my God. But uh,
Have you
I
have
learned a
you
lot
have you
from it.
have you ever tried ayahuasca?
No, but I've, I guess, did DMT. I did it a
Yeah.
couple times. Um, and these cats were giving me this DMT because I'm the old guy, I'm like, I'm going to be 70 this year.
Oh, wow. You look great.
Thanks, man. Well, you stay young, food for thought with the spiritual nourishment. But anyway, these young people are always, hey, come on, Hope, you want to go out to this drum circle in the desert? Like, yeah, all right, let's go.
Let's
Hey,
go.
hey, we're doing this acid, man. You think you want it? I go, guys, I said, I ain't done acid since the Beatles came to America, man. I go, you know what I mean? And the next thing I know, like, shit, give me some, This is very rare, very rare
Right.
because I'm so out there already that this stuff anymore. And so, it's mostly to teach them, like, yeah, I'm one. Yeah, okay, give me the shit. And then I lay down and they go, you all right? I go, yeah. And then after about 2 hours, I wake up and they go, you all right? I go, yeah. I said, I learned something. They go, what? I go, reality ain't that bad after all. I'm like, 3 hours, all this shit. Fuck that, man. I got shit to do. Sorry about my
Yeah.
language, but
No, it's okay. It's cool. Yeah, that's what they say, right? That's why when we come here, we don't remember. We don't remember everything that we've experienced in the past because
right.
it's too much.
Well,
When
it's by
when you
design. It's
Mhm.
by design because you can't grow into who you are if you already are, if you're already there.
Right,
That's what
right.
we talked about at the beginning of the podcast here is like mother and father had a choice, either program you to be 100% or let you grow that way. So, we start at zero, and the thing that I can say that I know is true that others might question is that the only person you'll ever hurt in this life, the only person you'll ever see hurting in this life, the only needy thing you'll ever see in this life is you. And it's reflecting back at you in the form of everything in reality.
Around you, right?
Oh man, what a big pill. Yeah, you point one finger at somebody or anything and three more will
Yeah,
point right back at you.
right.
One day I just go ahead.
That judgment, when we judge others and we criticize others,
You judge yourself
that's all
every
coming
time.
stemming from whatever insecurity or pain
All
or
of that.
trauma we have within
Whatever you
ourselves.
think about the world says more about you than it does about the world.
But that's interesting because I consider myself a good person, genuinely, and I think the world is really fucking evil, and there's a lot of bad shit out there,
Right.
and it's
Okay. This is
scary.
another good point. Okay. You think that you're a good person, but you're polarized to your rational consciousness, and that's dangerous. So yeah, everybody's good. That's the beauty of goodness is nobody can be bad, knowingly be bad. They have to self-justify it. Nobody, even the worst criminal on the planet, thinks they're doing good. The guy that goes around and kills all the nurses, and somebody goes, "Why'd you do that?" Well, God told me that they had the devil in them. Everybody is self-justified. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. No, we ain't. Well, that means I'm a bad person. No, no, you're not that either. You're a fool. You're a young soul, and we're cute. We're cupidic. This word, cupidity, cupidity. It's a youthful handling of love. The biggest problem with mankind, one of the biggest problems with mankind today, is the message of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that is that we want to possess time because we don't know we're timeless. We want to possess things because that's how we identify ourselves and define ourselves. It's even to the point where you go into the cities where these quote unquote homeless are, and they have shopping cart baskets full of junk all around them. They want possessions. It defines them. Somehow there's some security in having all this shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And not only that, but the stuff they have in their shopping carts is the stuff that the rich, the wasteful people put on the streets, right? So it's back in the face. I was talking to some people once ago. Man, I got all these homeless people living on my. I bought a condo in Frisco, 3 million. I got all these homeless people on my stoop, and every time I walk out, there's shopping carts full of shit and everything else. And I
Yeah.
go, yeah. I go, that's karma. They go, what do you mean that's karma? I go, well, whose stuff do you think they got in the cart? He goes, as a matter of fact, I saw my old ironing board in there.
That's right. That's right.
I go,
Right.
I go. The old saying, waste not, want not. I said, people think that if I don't waste, I won't want. I go, it
One
doesn't
one
work that way.
one man's loss is another man's treasure, you
Totally,
know?
but check this out. Here's how we fool ourselves: waste not, want not. So if I'm resourceful, I won't be needy. That's not what it means. Waste not, want not means that the people that are wasting, they can't be the wanting, or how are they going to continue to waste?
Right.
Somebody else is going to be the wanting, and they're going to camp out on your doorstep, and you're going to walk by them every morning and not know that that is you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man!
It's a vicious
And when you
circle.
start to get into this, this psychology, this philosophy, when you get into this way, it's training your thought consciousness, which is the biased one, the blind one, the ignorant one. You do it with knowledge. One thing about the word psychic, people use this word, they don't know what it means. Psychic means mind slash soul. If you Google meaning of psychic, it's going to tell you somebody can read your mind.
Right.
Somebody can foretell the future.
Right.
But if you Google origin of psychic, it's going to tell you the original meaning of the word, what the originators meant. And it means mind, psychiatry, psychology, psychiatrist. I tell people, you don't have a mind, you are a mind. And to be psychic doesn't mean I can tell what color underwear you're wearing.
Right.
To be psychic doesn't mean I can read your mind. To be psychic means I can read my own mind, because there's two consciousnesses, and usually one of them is not listening to the other, so I'm not able to read my own mind. If my thoughts are not listening to my feelings, which are serving my heart, I'm not reading my own mind. Do you
Okay.
realize how many times your thoughts will betray your heart?
So what are three power moves that we can make today to reshape our 3D reality, physical reality?
Okay. Usually I would say talk to mother, but I'm not going to do that today. Three power moves. One, begin to at least explore the notion that you are a twin individual, not an individual.
Mhm.
This is big. And then I'll tell this to some people, and they'll come back and talk to me later, and they go, yeah, the two halves of me. I go, there you go with your ego. Ego will take you, which is a duality, two yous, and turn it into two halves of it. I'm like, man. And you catch this by self awareness. You watch this, slow it down. People are all too involved in everything else, man. You can't even think like this. You got to slow it down. So, the first move, the first step to enlightenment, I am a twin individual. There's two of me. I am not an individual. I'm in a relationship with myself. And this is not just my opinion. Trust me, this is ancient understanding. It's
Mhm.
called whole-mindedness. And you wear this and you walk around like this and you catch yourself whenever you think of yourself as an individual, because there's no such thing as one. The second step, one, I'm a twin individual. There's two of me. I'm in a relationship with myself to myself. That's the first relationship. One of me is physical minded, the other one's spiritual minded. Together, I'm whole minded. Second, reality is my mirror. All of it. Every sadness, every sorrow, every landscape, every scene, every situation is you. That's a tough pill to swallow.
Heck yes. Heck yes.
But it is so healing, because it doesn't matter that you made all them mistakes. It doesn't matter that you were a fool, because how else are you going to start out? A graduate?
Right.
Of
How are you going
course
to
you're.
learn? How are you going to learn? How are you going to
Yeah, well,
experience?
ego doesn't want to be the first grader. Ego's like, oh, I know this, I know that, I know this. No, you don't. You got to
Mm-hmm.
get comfortable with being at the beginning, right? And not already there. And the third thing I would say, so one, you're a twin individual, not an individual. Reality is your mirror. So if something's going on around me and it's like unpleasant, I'm saying to myself, what is this a reflection of in me?
Within
Am I,
me.
yeah, am I at odds with myself? And the only place that'll ever happen is my thoughts are not listening to my feelings. Your first thought was actually a feeling. But because we don't know this,
Then the rational mind kicks in and we try to logic everything.
away we go, away from feeling, which was, let me give it a good example
It's
because
like
it's
it's like it's
important.
like it's like taking a test, right? Like when you pick the first answer and then you're no, that's really not it.
Right,
But the
right,
first one was the right one, right?
absolutely. And your feeling will always be right.
Yeah.
So a really quick thing that might be important because I'd like to give an example to this. People all over the world are stuck in traffic jams all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say there's a 500 million people stuck in traffic right now at any place given time in the world, all these major cities and everything. Just traffic. I've traveled enough. I've seen it. It's like, whoa, there's a lot of cars out here. So people are stuck in traffic all the time, right? 500 million people stuck in traffic every day for hours. Not one of them, not one of those 500 million people feels like being stuck in traffic.
Right.
So why don't they listen to that language? You just said it before. Thought kicks in. Well, what am I going to do? This is my degree. I have a job.
I
I
gotta
don't
go to
know where to
work.
get another job.
I
I
gotta go.
need this
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Feeling saying, let's not do this. And thought, rationalism, the little peep squeak you. Oh, well, what else are we going to do? I'm like, you got to be shitting me. When I catch my thought doing that, I'm like, you're in trouble. So Um, a friend of mine was talking to me one time. He goes, Hobo, I got a great example of one of your teachings. I go, what was it? He goes, well, I was driving back into work again every day like I do, hour and a half in, hour and a half out. And one day I just said to myself, I can't do this no more. I said, oh, you didn't have the feeling, huh? Because feeling is funding. You know, thought without feeling, you can think about it all day long. If you don't have feeling, you ain't doing it. Feeling from the intuitive feeling consciousness is funding. You feel like doing it. But within that funding, there's a message. It's like this money from the board of directors, this feeling from your heart has use. So use it for what it's supposed to be used for, right? So anyway, this guy going back and forth to work, getting older, getting older. He goes, one day I just couldn't do it. I go, what happened? He goes, I decided to stop. I decided to listen to my feelings. Despite the logic that for months and years have been telling me to not listen to that illogical feeling. He
Yeah.
said, I thought it was an illogical thought. After listening to you, I'm starting to realize that might be a feeling, like my buddy on the road with the car, and
Yeah.
all that. So I go, okay, cool. So I go, what happened? He goes, I pulled off the highway. I go, cool, what happened? He goes, I freaked out. I go, really?
Like a panic attack.
He goes, yeah, I just realized I fucked myself up. I go, what do you mean? He goes, because it's going to take me an hour to get back on the highway to keep going on this rat race. And I'm laughing because I know what's happening, right? So I'm like, wow. I go, what'd you do? He goes, well, I just pulled over. He said, there was an apple stand down there, and a guy was setting up selling apples. And I just drove down there and kind of parked in this little parking lot there, the area off the side of the road. And I sat there with my hands in my head going, I just screwed myself up. I've been late every day this month. He goes, and now I'm not even going to make it. He goes, that's over. And he goes, I don't have the will to do it anymore anyway. And I go, I hear you. And he goes, I sat there with my head in my hands and I go, what happened? He goes, I realized the old man was looking at me and I said, maybe I better go buy an apple because otherwise you might think that I'm over here going to commit suicide or something, right? I'm like laughing. I'm like, I hear you, bro. So he goes, I go over. I said, hey, I'll buy an apple. He buys an apple. And he says to the old man, he goes, hey, if you don't mind, I'm going to go back to my car and sit for a while and eat this apple. He goes, I've had a rough morning. The old man goes, what happened? He goes, I just screwed my life up, man. I got off the highway. I can't keep going into that city. And I may have messed up my job. He goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. He said, it was an impulse. He goes, my friend, I just got off. And the old man goes, you too, huh? He goes, that happened to me
It's like
20 years ago.
divine paths crossing each other,
Crazy.
right?
When you follow this, the synchronizings come in. You'll see that you're on that right path. This shit like this happens. So the old man's going, yeah, that happened to me 20 years ago. My buddy goes, really? He goes, yeah, I worked in the city back and forth, never saw my family, blah, blah, blah. He goes, I pulled off that very same exit because I sat right where you are and going, what the hell am I going to do? And my friend had me laughing. I'm like, this is crazy. And he goes, the old man goes, I decided, hey, I'll make it happen. I'm following my feelings. Got to be the right thing. And he says, after he got done sitting there, the old man says he looked up and he sees a little for sale by owner sign on the property. And he goes, hey, man, he took it as a sign, you know. And the old man says, you know, I ended up buying this land. And it wasn't easy. He says, it's just, but that apple that you're eating, so my
It's
friend, he goes, that was from the first tree I ever planted out here.
from the land that he bought, and now he's
Yeah. And
yeah.
he says, my life has been much happier. I don't know if I'd have made a million over there or not. He goes, but I have my grandchildren around me. My children, they come out here all the time. We got a nice life.
That's what
And my friend,
matters. Yeah.
and my friend said, you've helped me a lot today. He said, the old man goes, it's going to be all right. He goes, you know, something will come up. You close the door, open the door, right? All right. So my friend's walking back to the car, and the old man calls him back. Hey, hold on. My friend goes back. He goes, you know, this is kind of crazy how we're meeting. My friend goes, yeah, it's pretty cool. He said, I needed it. The old man goes, I'll tell you something. My neighbors moved out and went into the city. I bought their land. I don't need it. He goes, I would consider selling it to you, owner finance, if you would promise to do some agriculture and maybe grow something on it like I've been doing and not develop it. My friend goes, you would do that for me? And the old man goes, oh, sit in, we'll talk about it, you know, and change the number. My friend has a strawberry farm out there right next to that apple orchard right now.
That's awesome. What a great story.
I'm not even kidding you.
It's what you're
I
saying. Synchronicities, right? You just got to go with the flow. Go with the flow.
Yeah, because you're already getting the synchronicities, right? People are not going with the flow, and the synchronizations are horrific shit in their life.
It's terrible. It's
They
terrible.
don't see
Yeah.
that as synchronizing manifested reflection to go, oh, it's all, I'm a victim. One girl come on my bus one time, really quickly to tell you, she goes, I'd like to have a tarot reading. She had brought her friend with her, and her friend sat over here, and I had the woman here at the table. She goes, I would like to have a tarot card reading. Sure, let's do it. She goes, but before we start, can you tell me about my past life? I go, oh, yeah, sure. I go, you were a piece of shit,
That's good news.
self-centered, egotistical, selfish, conspiratorial, a criminal. He went into shock, practically swallowed her face.
Hmm.
Her friend, she starts crying. I mean, like, this is really happening. She's really
Yeah.
crying.
That's some
Her
pretty shitty
friend got
shit.
up and came and sat down next to her and was holding on to her. In my mind, I'm laughing my ass off. I'm like, these weak human beings, right? What do you think? We were the Queen of Sheba? Come on, please. So, anyway, after they recovered, and she goes to me, but how can this be? I go, let me ask you, do you really think that a divine order, a divine God, the divine, would let you be standing in the middle of a mess, such as your life is and this reality is, if you didn't have something to do with it? Were you a victim? God just let you fall into a place where it's all hell breaking loose, but you don't have nothing to do with it. She goes, wow. I go, yeah, but you're not a bad person. I'm not saying you're a sinner. I'm not saying you're a bad person. You're just polarized in your mind, which makes you dangerous, capable of doing anything. And then I explained to them what that means, which is I've been doing with you here. It's totally essential that the thought conscious begins to serve the feminine intuitive consciousness. Thereby will humility come in, ego collapse, and the mirror of reality will reflect that beautiful relationship because now you're where you're supposed to be. And once you do this, I call it the sacred marriage, and it takes the time. Once you become whole and your thought consciousness is forever serving your feeling consciousness, it never backslide after it does it the right way, then you can go home. Then you can go back to the kingdom
That's when you've
from
served your
whence.
mission.
Yeah, because now you're whole and you can go into the kingdom and you won't be bringing all this bullshit with you. This ego, this calamity, this confusion, these bad manifestations, right? You can be trusted. Even though you have all power, all life, you'll never use it selfishly, even in a subtle, sublime, hidden, ulterior motive ways. Never, ever. And people go, so what happens when you go home? I go, the only thing you want to do once you finally get there, once you finally get this and you finally see home and you see how wonderful it is and just how wonderful everything really was, the only thing you want to do is serve it. Make more of it. Keep it the way it is. It's your life's purpose. It's such a beautiful thing that you want to forever be a part of its production rather than its destruction.
So you
And so you,
clearly you're very self-aware and knowledgeable with your recovery, right?
yeah.
Of from all of your previous experiences, and you're 70 years old now. Do you feel like you're ready to go if the time should come and you're okay with that?
Oh yeah, man. Shit, man. I'm the first guy to step off the bus. Trust me. And it's not that I don't love life. Um, I have a broad understanding of it all. You never really go anywhere.
Right, right. That's
And
true.
yeah, so but I got a problem. I'm a priest. I don't go home till everybody goes home.
Right.
And it really sucks. And it goes back to what happened to me at 4. I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I just woke. And I went from not knowing anything to where I knew exactly what was going on around me, who everybody was, what was going on. There's a cake with 4 candles burning on it. There's a hand in front of my face with 4 fingers. And there's a voice saying, say your 4, say your 4. There's 3 4s in a row on my social security number. You add up my social security number, it comes with 4. I've been married 4 times, got 4 children, it goes on and on, right? So anyway, I'm sitting there and this hand that was in front of my face, and the voice was my father, earthly father, saying, say your 4, say your 4. The cake was mine, and the family was sitting at the table, lights out, wanted to, sing happy birthday. And he wanted me to say I'm 4. There's no way I was going to do it. When I woke like that, bam, I go, wow, I'm alive. It's like I was expecting it. And they say you're 4, say you're 4. In my mind, I'm going, hell no. I will not say I'm 4 because to me, at that age, at that moment, it felt like it was going to be an incantation.
Mhm.
And if I said I was 4, I was going to get locked into wherever the hell it was I just woke up into. Who thinks like this at 4? It's
Nobody.
not. Okay. That's why I believe in reincarnation, but whatever. So I'm sitting there going, there's no way. And I know me. At that point, it was hell would have froze over. I wouldn't have opened my mouth. I'm like, this ain't a cool place. This ain't a cool thing. Whatever's happening here, it all looks nice. I go, no, this is a hard thing. No way. I will not say I'm 4.
Yeah.
Right then, this huge book appeared right in front of me. And I know I'm the only one in that room that could see it. It was a big leather bound looking one of those old ancient books. And the pages started turning. This is in my right there.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
you're seeing this.
I'm
You're
I'm
seeing
four
you're the
years
only one.
old. I'm 4 years old. I ain't on no drugs, no alcohol, and nothing. I'm like, whoa, right? On top of everything else that just happened preceded it. Here comes this book, and these pages are turning. And on every page are the days of my life.
What's that, like the records of your life? Is that what it is?
The book of life. It's real. Most people see it at the end of their life. I saw
Yeah.
mine in the beginning. Now, for a reason. And as each page went by, I'm going, see, I knew it. Hell no. No. Page, I knew it. I knew this was going to be bad. There's no way I'm going to say I'm 4. And this went on quickly. And every time the page turned, I'm like, God, I'm so glad I didn't say I'm 4. And then the last page turned open. As soon as I saw it, I go, I'll do it for that. The book closed, disappeared, and I said, I'm 4. And what I meant was, I'm for it. And it was my consent. I say that every person, including you, consented to this life. Preconception, most of the time.
Accept it. Accept what's happening, learn from it, experience
Well,
it.
listen, man, tarot teaches that the young adolescent soul has got to go to school. The fool. The fool, the young
Yeah,
child has no experience, has
right.
never done anything. You can't stay on mother's apron strings. You can't stay in the spiritual realm where everything's abundant and beautiful and cool. You got to go out and do something. Even like monarchs send their children to like military school. Become somebody. Don't just live off of us. So mother sent us into the world, right? And so we had to come to school. And mother and father sat you down preconception when you were totally knowing. Said you got to go to school. You're like, I don't want to go to school. You got to go to school. So they gave you options of schools you could go to. You know what school the fool chose?
What?
Driving school.
Oh
Wanted to
God.
get wanted to get its license.
Oh boy.
The chariot card.
Mm-hmm.
And what the fool didn't realize was that the driving school the fool was going to go to was run by father time. And that there the fool would have to learn to move and operate the most dangerous vehicle of all, its mind, the use of mind. Forevermore in eternity, the lessons of this life, once they conclude, and you come to understand that your ego can either be selfish or it can be altruistic, that your ego is you, and that if it gets overinflamed and polarized to rational, it'll disconnect from spiritual and cause danger and cause a reality such as we see around us today.
You gotta smack yourself down again, right?
I'm telling you, girl, and I love it. That's why my ego's so tough, and it's always cropping up. Even to this day, I'm like, really? Still? I go, you know what? That's why you're with me. To
Yeah.
my ego.
When I was listening to your, I was scrolling through your content and I was like, man, this dude is speaking some truth, like this guy is really throwing it out there. um and it takes a lot of courage, to get to that point. And I do believe that, going back to everything that we were talking about, it's about, like, some people are born to be teachers, and clearly you are that teacher, where you awoke
Right,
at the age of 4.
right.
And when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Hey,
Exactly.
maybe this is why we're having this conversation right now too,
Well,
right?
I'm both. The teacher is the student too. Don't ever forget that. But see, I'm an outer manifestation of your desire, and anybody that listens to your podcast, I'm an outer manifestation of their own self, of that part of them that knows.
Yeah,
And you guys, in a sense, right now, are an outer manifestation of that part of me that still needs to know. And so, in the life of the spirit, one is always at the beginning.
yeah.
And yeah, so the teacher morphs into the student, and the student morphs into the teacher in an endless cycle of growth.
I love that. I love that, Hobo. So, Hobo, we've been talking for close to 2 hours now. Fascinating information. Thank you for sharing everything. So you are still actively doing tarot, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if our viewers were interested in contacting you, so that you can, let them
Set
know
it
what's
up.
going on and help them out, yeah. How can they reach you?
Just Gmail me at hobotarot@gmail.com.
Okay, I'll also be adding all of the links to your TikTok and your social medias, your YouTube also, where I saw that you were active on there as well, so that
Yes.
people can watch more of your
Very
work.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much for taking the afternoon to speak with me. Again, I love this. I welcome it. I learned so much from you today. I feel like I am little by little awakening more and more, and I'm open to receiving all of this information and the teachers and the knowledge. Um,
That's why you're here.
yeah, yeah. But you've been fascinating to speak with, and I really appreciate you taking the
You're
time.
welcome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you
Awesome.
so much, Hope. I'll send you the link of the whole podcast so that you can have it once I post it tonight.
Peace out.
All right, honey. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.